All right guys, so today we have two cameras. We have the Sony ZV-1 and the Sony a7c with the 20mm f1.8 lens. Can you tell the difference? One setup is a $3,200 setup that includes the camera, the lens, along with the ND filter, which is the Peter McKinnon Signature 2 variable ND filter, along with the D3 Pro microphone and the Manfrotto Pixie tripod. The other one is the Sony ZV-1, and that has the ULANZI wide-angle lens to make it a little bit wider, along with the D4 Duo. Can you tell the difference in the two shots? Well, I can tell you that the camera on your right is the Sony ZV-1, and the camera on your left is the Sony a7c. I'm gonna go through each camera and let you know what advantages or disadvantages you may have if you decide to make this your personal vlogging rig. All right guys, so first off, this is the Sony a7c. Like I said, it's paired up with the Sony 20mm f1.8 lens. I currently have the stabilization set to standard, but that's really not gonna matter because this lens is not stabilized. So that means that you're not gonna get image stabilization coming out of this setup. So how does the quality of it look? Here's the other problem. I have polarized sunglasses on. I can't even see the screen, and I do have the screen set to sunny weather. Could this be an issue on a bright sunny day? For sure. Also, I have the D3 Pro, and it is pointing, the wind is coming in from behind me. So you let me know, how does the wind sound? Is it blocking the wind? I do have a dead cat on it to try and help knock down some of that wind. But like I said, this is the $3,200 setup. Does it give you superior image quality to the Sony ZV-1 with the D4 microphone on top?
Well, you're rocking that American flag on your short skis.
Now I have the Sony ZV-1. Now I have the D4 Duo up on top of the camera along with the ULANZI lens. So the question is, does this mic make a big difference? There is a pretty decent gust of wind that is consistently happening here at the beach. This setup all together will run you less than $900 and you're off and running. I do have the built-in ND filter on, which is kind of nice. You get a built-in ND filter. But even still, to keep a proper motion blur, right now I'm at 1/50, shooting at 24 frames a second, I do have to crank up my aperture up to 6.3 just to get the exposure right on this. I could always go to aperture priority where I lock at the aperture at like a f2.8 or an f4, and with me not moving, that wouldn't be bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and show that to you right now. Now I do have this thing set in aperture priority. Why? Because I wanna keep a consistent 2.8 background blur. The increased motion blur from the shutter speed is gonna make your video look a little weird, but if you're not moving too much, it's not that bad. Now let's talk about picture profiles, the difference between these two cameras. Now on the Sony ZV-1, shooting in S-Log2 or S-Log3 is gonna be a little bit of a challenge. Why? Because the ISO for S-Log is gonna start at 1,000. When you're outside, that's gonna really change the brightness of your shot, being at 1,000. And if you don't have a screw-on ND filter, even the built-in ND filter is gonna have a little bit of trouble. Now I'm currently shooting in the HLG3 picture profile, and that allows you to start at 250. You can also shoot at the HLG2, and that will start at 200. But the HLG3 does a fantastic job. So like I said, I have it at aperture priority, but then it's really cranking up the shutter speed. The shutter speed is like 1/200, so it's really cranking up the shutter speed here. But how does the image quality look? But also, guys, I did want to point out here, I am standing, if you haven't seen The Quiet Place 2, I am standing in front of the bridge that they used for one of the shots. So in the movie, there's a reveal, and there is a boat on the other side over here, and that's where, spoiler alert, the aliens are coming to get the people on the island. So hopefully you guys have seen Quiet Place 2, but this is the bridge that they used in that scene.
Oh, sweet, a new camera bag. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I am shooting on the Sony a7c right now, using that 20mm lens still, and I do have the Peter McKinnon variable ND filter. It's the 6 to 9 stop ND filter, so it's definitely cutting down on a lot of light. The difference between this camera and the other camera as far as the S-Logs go is this one does have S-Log 2 and S-Log 3. Both start at 500 ISO, so you're gonna be able to have one more stop of light. Now you throw the ND filter on there and it really does cut down on the light. Like I said, I have the 6 to 9 filter on it right now, but this camera also has the HLG picture profiles. Both of those start with an ISO of 125. So you're gonna get an extra stop of light when using this camera when you're using picture profiles. Well, let's be honest, you're probably gonna end up shooting the Sony ZV-1 with just a standard picture profile. Most vloggers aren't gonna look to do a lot of heavy color grading. Maybe in this scenario, the winner goes to the Sony ZV-1 for convenience because you don't have to worry about picture profiles. So both share the same color science. Now also shooting on the Sony ZV-1 with a standard picture profile is gonna allow you to bring that ISO way down. You can bring that aperture down and that shutter speed down. Why? Because you're not gonna have to overexpose the footage. That's the one thing with the S-Logs and also the HLGs, that you do want to slightly overexpose the image so you can keep those shadows protected. All right, so this is the extreme audio test right here because I got the waves crashing, I got the wind blowing. All right guys, so now I have the Sony ZV-1 in the standard picture profile. Now I do have the 3 capsule microphone using the self-provided windsock. And like I said, there is a pretty decent breeze out here today, so you're gonna have to let me know if you can hear the wind. I'm using, like I said, the standard picture profile now, and I have active steady shot on, and I'm using the aperture priority. So I am walking a little bit slower, a little bit more gingerly to try and help minimize some of that shake. But I'm curious to find out, how does this image quality look? Like I said, I am using aperture priority, so I'm trying to keep that aperture in f2.8. I'm keeping this lens wide as it will go. Now with the ULANZI lens, it does knock it out to about an 18mm equivalent. And I got my arm semi-bent. But how does the image quality look? I was wondering, do we lose a lot of dynamic range by moving into standard picture profile? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch back over to HLG 3, and this way we can have the ISO down at 125 still and see how the image quality looks with that. All right, so now I have the HLG 3 on. I am currently overexposing at 1.3 to try and help preserve some of those shadows. Although there's not many shadows out there today because it is a bright sunny day. So you're gonna have to let me know using the active stab, how does this image quality look? I sometimes think that HLG 3 looks really good on this camera. I am using the Leeming LUTs to grade all this footage. So if you're looking for that, you want to look up Leeming LUTs. I'll leave a link down below and you can pick those up. It's not an affiliate link, it's not sponsored. So go ahead, let me know. What do you think? How does the image quality look? How do the skin tones look using the HLG 3? I think it looks pretty good using the Sony ZV-1. You can keep that ISO really low if you use aperture priority. Like I said, the only problem is that you really have to crank up that shutter speed. Now I wish I would have brought my step-up ring so I could throw that Peter McKinnon on there so you can see what a proper motion blur would look like. But unfortunately, I forgot it. So we're just gonna have to deal with the built-in ND filter. You wanna be able to throw this thing right in your pocket, and I can completely tell you that even with the ULANZI lens, you can tuck this thing right in your pocket, especially with that provided wind muff that comes with the Sony ZV-1. So I'm gonna go ahead, switch back over to the Sony a7c, and we'll wrap up this video. Now, could you vlog with either one of these cameras? Absolutely. Now, one of the downsides with the Sony a7c though, is that it's gonna be extra weight. I do have my elbow half bent in, and the weight is gonna be significantly different than the Sony ZV-1. I can tell you that holding this out and vlogging with this does build up those biceps, guys. So good reason to get the Sony a7c. But if you're looking for lightweight, compact portability, I feel that the Sony ZV-1 is gonna be your winner here. But of course, when you want a good rig that's gonna give you great, exceptional image quality, the Sony a7c is not gonna let you down. So this is the final look. Guys, I'm gonna leave it here. Go ahead, comment down below. Let me know which camera you think has a better image quality, or could you not even tell the difference? And if you like this video, I'm sure you're gonna like the video on the screen now. Go ahead and click on that video, and I'll see you on that one.